Bay Area lights on and volume up because what just shifted for Golden State isn't loud yet. But it's the kind of subtle, veteran-savvy move that can tilt a spring series by 3 possessions and remind everyone that dynasties aren't rebuilt with fireworks alone. They're rebuilt with timing, fit, and the courage to take a precise bet when the market is looking the other way. This is Warriors News Fan Report, your place to get updated news and real rumors of our beloved team with the context that matters. Straight talk and no fluff. The way we actually watch basketball together. Eyes on the rotations, respect for the cap man, and a healthy obsession with how one decision in December, January, or March echoes into May. Tonight I'm laying out the full picture in one sitting. Why the guard room needed a specific profile. What that profile does to stabilize the second unit without stealing air from Stephen Curry. How the G League pipeline and the NBA calendar quietly open a lane for smart contenders. What the medical and workload reality is for a former elite defensive guard on the road back, and how Golden State can keep optionality while testing something that could give this team a grown man gear when the game slows. Down in every half-court trip is a thesis defense. You've seen the pressure points as clearly as I have when Steph sits. The offense must survive without turning into a turnover clinic, and the defense needs a body who can take that first hit at the point of attack, chase over, and funnel drives to help without fouling. When Steph plays, there are stretches where another downhill threat lets him breathe on the weak side, ghost a screen, and sprint into a catch without having to dribble through a forest every time. That's the architecture. That's the clarity. That's the need the front office has been modeling for months while managing the apron era. And making sure every addition is clean enough to keep the books flexible and the locker room coherent. So let's talk about the player archetype that checks those boxes. A guard with all-defense instinct and habits baked in from years of catching the scouting report's hardest assignment. A compact frame with leverage literacy at the point of contact. Hands that don't gamble for social clips. And the toughness to hit a screen, recover, and still contest. On offense, a secondary driver who doesn't. Demand the ball to feel important. Who can trigger an action and get out. Who cuts 45 with intent. Who sets ghost screens without drifting into a moving pick, who understands that in this system the pass is often thrown before the window looks open. Golden State's ecosystem elevated players who think faster, not louder. That's still true today. Add to that the reality of a long rehab road. Quads and patellas don't just test strength, they test rhythm timing into the takeoff foot. Trust on the first hard downhill step. Confidence when the lane closes late. You solve that with a runway, not a parachute. You solve it by ramping minutes, using the G League to stack real game speed, then asking for honest, small NBA jobs before you expand the role. You do not solve it by pretending we're back in 2018, which is why what happened on the minor league ledger last week matters more than it looks on the ticker. A 2-time All-Star who once led the league in steals has elected to get his legs back under him with the Wisconsin Herd. The Bucks affiliate, after Santa Cruz held the G League priority and flipped his returning rights future pick. On the surface, that's simply housekeeping. Underneath, it's a signal of professional clarity, a veteran choosing a low-pressure environment, a contender letting an affiliate optimize its own asset path, and an NBA door that stays open for anyone who can pass the tape test over several weeks of honest, health-first basketball. You know the name. You've argued about the name. And you remember the player at his peak, like I do lateral jets on demand, read and react steals that detonated crowds. A slasher who could turn a dead possession into 2 points with a single violent gather. Victor Oladipo is writing the next page of a comeback, and whether that page has a Bay Area chapter will come down to the most Warriors thing ever: fit, timing, and the humility to ask for the exact job this roster needs. Let's be real about the medicals in the film, because everything else depends on that foundation. The path back from the 2019 quad tendon rupture and the 2023 patellar tendon injury isn't linear. It's about stacking healthy weeks, measuring bounce on back-to-backs, and watching how the hips and feet hold angles at full speed. In preseason run with Guangzhou, he flashed the old angles in burst-short windows where the footwork and the anticipation were ahead of the legs, and that's what the Herd stint is designed to stretch. Can the burst sustain past the first quarter? Does the recovery look clean late? And does the defensive motor hold without tugging the knee into awkward stops? If the answers trend yes, the league calendar opens a practical lane. 10-day windows in January, the mid-month guarantee date that keeps benches honest, and the quiet truth that a player on a standard G League deal isn't tied to the affiliate's parent club. He's free to sign with anyone, vet minimum, as long as the NBA roster spot exists. That's not rumor. That's the machinery of the CBA doing what it's supposed to do. What would the Warriors actually be buying if they jump? Not nostalgia roll clarity. 2 shifts a night, 10 to 15 minutes total. On defense, top lock against pull-up killers who love ghost-to-handoff sequence. Chase over and trust the peel switch behind you. Fight through once per action instead of switching early and gifting the star small. On offense, one early action with Steph 21 into a dribble handoff or a simple ghost screen to force 2 to the ball, then empty side cut, drag your man. Keep the paint occupied without begging for touches. The second shift is the same thing with the second unit, where his ball handling can turn a dead possession into a paint touch and a kick. Nothing fancy. Just an adult possession. This is grown man basketball clean, unsentimental, and exactly what a contender needs when games get muddy. How does it play with the current group? Steph remains the gravitational engine. No one touches that. Draymond organizes the floor, unlocks split action, and protects the back line with communication and smoke. Jonathan Kuminga's leap has been energy and force, and the staff is right to feed him reps. Brandon Podziemski connects sets with pace and feel. Moses Moody can space, chase, and finish plays without demanding script edits. Andrew Wiggins, at his best, still checks a big wing and stabilizes the glass. An Oladipo look, if the tape is honest, doesn't replace anyone's identity. It raises the floor on a fragile set of minutes that can haunt contenders if they pretend they're fine when they're not. Think of the road games where Steph sits for 6 and the offense dies. The 4 possessions where one live ball steal or one hard drive would have kept the dam from cracking. That's the swing a healthy, disciplined veteran guard can deliver. The cap story is straightforward too. The vet minimum is the lever for apron squeeze contenders. 10 days let you test before you commit. Non-guaranteeds provide levers to open a slot without torpedoing depth. The beauty of the recent G League rights swap is that it didn't lock Golden State out. It clarified the path. Let the player ramp with the herd. Let the Warriors keep their Santa Cruz pipeline flexible with a future pick and revisit when the film is unambiguous. No one burns a real asset. Everyone keeps optionality, and the decision, if it comes, is made with evidence, not vibes. That's why this is a real conversation inside contenders' buildings and not just a headline for your group chat. Let's zoom in the basketball sequence because that's where this either lives or dies. Picture a third-quarter stretch against a big guard-heavy opponent. The Warriors go to a motion wrinkle with Steph off the ball. Oladipo starts weak side slot, sprints into a ghost, the defense hesitates. Steph gets a catch a step earlier than usual, and the entire possession becomes a shot-quality bet in Golden State's favor. Next trip, the opponent tries to hunt the smallest guard with a flare-to-handoff chain. Oladipo eats the screen, rides the hip, and forces the star into the gap where the low man is waiting. It's not a steal. It's not a block. It's a yes or no possession turned into a maybe. And those maybes are where this team needs more answers. Crunch time. One more scenario. Warriors up 2. 1-8 left. Baseline out of bounds. Opponent tries to spring a corner 3 with a screen the screener. He calls the switch early, scrams out the mismatch as the pass floats, and what could have been a clean look becomes a reset with 7 on the clock. That's the value proposition, not 20 points. 3 calm decisions and a body to trust. It's the quiet stuff that stacks wins in April, the early top lock that blows up a pet action, the strong hand drive that collapses a shell just enough for a spray 3, the late clock poise to keep the ball moving instead of forcing a hero step back. The locker room chemistry question matters, and I'll address it like an adult. This group respects defense and professionalism. There's no oxygen for players who need touches to feel seen, and there's even less for guys who break rules on the weak side just to hunt a steal. Oladipo's personality and rep fit the do-a-job culture, and his story clawing back from multiple surgeries, choosing the grind of the G, showing up early for treatment, and staying late for film translates in a room that loves workers and values humility. Veterans clock that immediately. Are you on time? Are you attentive in scouts? Are you willing to screen without the ball? Can you take coaching in front of the team? If the legs aren't there, the staff will see it fast and move on. If they are, the vets will reward it with trust, because trust is the real currency of this era in the Bay. You don't baby the fit because the role is intentionally narrow and precise. Like a wrench, you pull out twice a night to fix the one thing that's squeaking. From the coaching standpoint, Steve Kerr and the assistants can script it without breaking anything we already do well. You can pair him with Steph in short bursts to unlock an off-ball run-go screen. Flip the angle, chase the tag. Boom, Steph inhales air for a possession, and the defense has to make two decisions in one beat. Or you hand him second unit primary for two possessions just to stabilize. 121 series into a DHO. One empty corner drive to force nail help and a kick. That's it. Get to the bench with the lead intact. Defensively, you assign him the point of attack shifts and let the back line make him right. He eats the first screen, funnels to the low man, peels on the kick out, and communicates the scram so the mismatch never blooms. If the small pick and roll starts fishing mismatches, the staff pre-switch and scram out because communication is already a team strength and his instincts sharpen that. The load management is clean and measurable. No back-to-backs early. A firm minutes cap until the data says raise it, and specific performance benchmarks that actually mean something beyond vibes live ball. Turnover creation rate without gambling. Foul rate per screen navigation. Close-out control on the second jump. Recovery sprints logged in tracking, defensive possession quality allow win. He's the primary. Layer in practice cadence. Controlled 3-on-3 live with staff refs, then a scrimmage day with limited bursts, then travel simulation to test swelling and stiffness. All of it builds toward a simple adult decision, playable or not, and in what pocket of minutes. Now, the elephant in the room, if he's playing for the Herd, isn't he a Bucks guy? Not under a standard G League deal. The NBA club doesn't own rights. Any team can call him up clean on a 10-day or vet minimum if there's an open roster spot. That's the under-discussed advantage of letting the G League shoulder the ramp. The tape is public to front offices. The medical updates move through the proper channels, and the path to a call-up is identical for everyone. You're evaluating the same film the Herd is not begging permission. That Santa Cruz trade everyone saw scroll by. It was about Santa Cruz, not the NBA roster the Warriors converted a potential local storyline into a tangible future. G League picked for development while keeping their NBA flexibility untouched. It's smart, tidy business in the apron era. Protect your pipeline, bank an inexpensive asset, and avoid stacking too many if the knee holds bets under your own roof. Meanwhile, you leave the bay door unlocked if the tape warrants a knock. Zoom in on the calendar mechanics, and it gets even more logical. January opens 10-day window. Mid-month guaranteed dates force league-wide clarity. Contenders test hypotheses without mortgage payments. If the Herd film shows repeatable pop first step win rate against NBA caliber guards on assignment, shoulder through contact without drifting offline, slide and contest discipline on 2 action possessions, you pick up the phone. If it shows fatigued Cliffs at the 8-minute mark or sloppy hands late in quarters, you wait. That's not romance. That's process. And because we are who we are on this channel, fans with standards and receipts, I'm going to you before I put a bow on it. Tell me where you land. Precisely. Would you line up a 10-day in January if the Herd film shows real lift, clean diagonals on the closeout, and no panic hands on the second slide? Or would you keep every second unit minute in-house to grow pods and Moody without veteran experiment? If you're in the yes, test it camp, what's the first job you hand him 4 disciplined minutes a half on the opponent's toughest guard to bleed the clock and muddy reads? Or short bursts where he triggers one action with Steph and immediately becomes a 45-cut threat to bend help and open the slot pass? Name matchups big guards who bully smalls, jitterbug creators who string out pick and rolls, wings who prefer bully drives, and be clear about the leash you give him in a 3-game week with travel. I read everything, and this community has been dead on about fit more often than not. Here's my concise read. As straight as front offices talk internally, today's development is a veteran guard with an elite defensive resume using the G League to prove he's playable again. Golden State does not need to trade a thing to sign him later. The only question that matters is whether the tape over multiple weeks, not flashes, says he can deliver clean, disciplined minutes without flare-ups or false starts. If the answer is yes, a vet minimum call-up is a sane, low-risk move that raises the floor of the rotation. buys Steph Cleaner Air Late and gives Kerr a reliable switch to flip when games get muddy. If it's no, you respect the grind, tip your cap to the work, and keep building the bench with the kids. The right swap that rooted him to Wisconsin at the minor league level doesn't close the door in the Bay. It simply means the evaluation happens in another jersey before anyone prints the NBA contract. That's the value proposition. Expanded. Not a savior. Not 20 points. Just 3 calm decisions, a body you trust, and a blueprint that fits the way the Warriors still win basketball games.